are talking Haunted Changi from 2010, and this is a movie from Singapore directed by Tony Kern and Andrew Lau. Now, this is a found footage movie and follows the template of documentary filmmakers going into a supposedly haunted, abandoned hospital to try and film a documentary and capture paranormal on film. Will they succeed? Well, you'll have to watch the movie and find out. So let us discuss Haunted Changi. Now, despite this being a movie from Singapore, it's actually spoken in English language for the most part. And one of the things I enjoyed about this movie, I would say, is it's the team of kind of paranormal investigators act quite a lot like a team. One of the critiques I've had of a lot of kind of found footage movies is a lot of the time it's just people bickering and arguing and not seeming like a team. Whilst this one, I would say they actually do. There's a little bit of kind of friction here and there, but for the most part they kind of agree and kind of act kind of as a kind of unit with a plan and stuff like that. And I always think when you are, when you watch a movie that involves professionals doing their work, even though it's, amateur filmmakers in this one, I always think I like to see them act like they are of that profession, if that makes sense, rather than bitching all the time for kind of inflated drama. But I think it actually benefits this film, makes the characters kind of more likeable, more amenable, because they're not just kind of screaming at each other when they disagree. For example, in this movie, a girl, the female kind of member of the crew feels uncomfortable, so the guys just say, yeah, no problem, we'll go. And again, it's a small thing, but I quite like the fact that we have these people acting like a team, and that actually kind of makes them a bit more of a likeable kind of characters as well. The thing I would say with this movie is, for a found footage movie, it's actually quite well filmed. They use a variety of kind of different cameras, including infrared and night vision and things like this. But the way it's kind of shot and interspersed with little effect shots here and there, little kind of camera trickery, it actually looks like it's quite well filmed. And the kind of the footage, so to speak, is kind of looks somewhat complete. And they're making this documentary, and it involves establishing shots and still photography and things like this, and that's all kind of integrated within the movie. Arguably, you could say, well, it's not really found footage in some respects, but I actually kind of quite like the presentation of it. The other thing I would say that works really well in this movie is the location what they're kind of shooting here, because it does look pretty horrifying. And because this is a movie in Singapore, you've got stuff like some dangerous wildlife in there as well, not just kind of your supernatural elements. The movie kind of follows a template like the Blair Witch. We've got interviews with witnesses giving various kind of accounts, and one of the kind of the most prevalent kind of sort of images that you'll see from this one is kind of the headless ghosts, because apparently this hospital used to be used by the Japanese in World War II to essentially decapitate prisoners of war. So you see kind of images or shadows and things of these kind of this headless kind of ghosts here and there, which looks pretty spooky, I have to say. And this movie does have a somewhat of a kind of a spooky feel to it. Okay, what doesn't work? I feel this movie is a lot of nothing in some respects. I never really felt like we ever really got to see anything at all in this film. Now, that's a criticism that can be levied of many found footage movies. A lot of them will tend to kind of wait until the kind of the last 10 minutes or so before really kind of revealing anything, maybe with a few kind of bits here and there. And that's still true of this movie, but you see even less than normal, if we're being completely honest. So you might feel a little bit kind of shortchanged in respect that you barely see anything at all, to be honest. The movie has a higher production quality than some, but the actual kind of things you'll see on screen may be a little bit disappointing for some, considering the best you really see is kind of shadows and thinking of things like this, and a little bit kind of a little bit weak maybe on plot as well. It's just these guys kind of going in. I mean, again, it's a sort of typical kind of like the investigators going into a kind of a haunted building and things like that. But there's not much really to it, It's kind of it's just kind of like wandering around a lot of the time in the dark and kind of not being able to see very much at all. And and any scares that we do have seem a little bit muted and a little bit kind of, you know, unfortunately not maybe as overt as it could have been. Some of the acting is a little bit on the weaker side here and there, I have to say as well. You know, it kind of just shows a little bit. But overall, this movie is, I would say that because of the quality of the filming, it's better than some I've reviewed recently, because it just feels like it's a little bit more TLC has been kind of given in the production of the movie. But at the same time, you feel like you're missing things in this movie, because there's not a lot to it. There's not a lot of overt kind of supernatural stuff happening on screen. In actual fact, I think this was probably a decision made by the filmmakers to insinuate more than kind of show. I mean, like I said, we're given all these sort of possible kind of different kind of supernatural phenomena, from vampires to headless ghosts, to, you know, to kind of give you plenty of options. But the idea here, I think, is to make the viewer use their imagination, which may be okay for some, but for me, film is a kind of a more of a visual storytelling. It's more of a you know, show don't tell, essentially. So some people might find a little shortchanged in this one, but it has a kind of a somewhat of a spooky atmosphere, but maybe not as much as some others. So I'll give this one a 4 out of 10. Have you seen it? What do you think about it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.